Hey everybody, it's me, Dr. Q, the one and only life coach for people with pets, and I thought that today I would show you what a real life training session looks like here at the ResqRanch with a lot of animals all at the same time. That may not be the situation at your house, but if it is, you're going to see exactly how I manage that. But the reason why we do this is because, number one, it's very important that the animals have ability to have free choice to come or go. So they're out on 10 acres, they can either hang out with me or not. So you're going to see how they want to hang out with me, even though they have 10 acres to roam around on. And then also you're going to see how I interact with different animals, how I deal with pushier animals, more shy animals, how we deal with situations where they don't comply with what I ask, and how I respond when they do comply. So these are all components of what you're going to see in this training session right now. And what's really important about this is because you want to have this kind of a relationship with your horse before you ever get on them. I like to call this sort of the pre-flight check. It gives you an insight into their mind, into the relationship that you have with them. If you can do this kind of interaction with them out in the open and have them want to be with you, then you know you're ready to go on to the next step, which includes riding the horse. So tune in right now and see what it's all about.
What I want you to notice first is that this horse is totally loose, right? So she's completely unconstrained. She's out on 10 acres. She has the ability to come or go if she wants. Here, I'm combing some knots out of her mane, which pulls a little bit, but she's letting me do it. She's offering me some behavior here with the hoof lift, which I'm rewarding. And notice I'm rewarding her with some scratches and not necessarily food. So you're not always going to do food all the time. Here I go back to untangling her mane. She's listening to some of her buddies that are neighing, but she's not moving off or leaving me. So I'm rewarding her for staying with me, even though there's activity going on in the distance with the other horses. But she's chosen to stay with me and to participate in this training session of her own free will. And I think that's really what's important, is how you can evaluate your horse's mood, behavior, and the bond you have with your horse is whether or not they're willing to hang out with you and stick with you, even when they have friends that they could be going to or other things they can be doing. So here I'm asking again for some hoof lift. And if you'll notice, she did not respond in the way that I wanted. So I immediately stopped what I was doing and I'm going back to combing out her mane. So now I'm going to try one more time. So I asked for hoof lift and again, she didn't do it. And so I just stopped and then she walked off because she was more interested in going off and being with her friends. So I didn't do anything. It stayed there. Oh, good. And then she knows how to rear. She indicated to me she wanted to do that trick, so I let her and rewarded her for that. So again, if something's not working, you need to change the subject and do something else that does work and try again. And good. And then we moved to the other side of the horse and did the hoof lift on the other side, and she did it. And I was able to reward her because she did it correctly. And so notice she has her head above the line, and I'm just standing there not giving her any input whatsoever because that's not how I want to be approached. Now she drops her head and takes a step towards me very gently towards my safety circle, but I still don't like the fact that her head is up high above the line. So I don't respond to her and back away, indicating to her that I need her to do something else if she wants to continue to have the opportunity to train with me. So it's okay sometimes to just take your time. I step away, she comes to me, I reward her for that because she chose to come and spend some time with me, and that is what I was looking for. Again, we try hoof lift. She doesn't really do it, so I change the subject. So ask twice. If you're not getting what you want, change the subject, do something else. She's being a little bit close into my safety circle that time. I didn't feel super comfortable with that. So that's why I went ahead and touched her ears and touched her forelock and got her to get back in her own space. Now she's coming towards me again, and I'm ignoring all of that. I'm ignoring all of that because I didn't ask for that rear. And again, her nose is still pretty much above the line, which I can't see from the position that I'm in. But she gave me a half-hearted effort of a hoof lift with that back leg, so I petted her. Again, I did not give her food. You want to match the reward to the behavior. There, now she actually gave me her foot, so I went ahead and rewarded her with some food. She had run off to spend some time with some friends, check in with them, and then came back to me, so I rewarded her for that. For a horse to spend hours in an afternoon just coming up to you and wanting to be with you when they can run around on 10 or be with their buddies is a pretty big deal. So I came to where I have some tools that I had stored underneath the camera so I could continue to comb out her mane, which needed to be combed. So again, this is the best way to accomplish that is with them loose. And then you don't have to worry about them getting frightened, pulling back, breaking any equipment, halters, even like that, because you're training them how to do all of these behaviors where they completely have the option to leave or not to leave. So I'm just grooming her. She seems to be enjoying it. Her head is still a little bit above the line though. So I'm not really going to do any more training at this point. It's just the job here is to get her groomed because we need to groom our horses every day. And this is the best way to do it in a free choice manner where the horse has the option to where they can leave or not rather than tying them up. And then I reward her because she stood there for quite a while and let me just groom and brush her. And so I really appreciated that. So I figured it was time for her to have a little bit of a reward. And so now we're combing out her tail. Again, you always want to be very careful to make sure that the horse is nice and relaxed before you are standing back there. I'm doing a little bit of a tail pull here to see if she'll allow me to do that little chiropractic move. And she did. So I stopped right away and clicked and rewarded her. Again, down low. That's really important with horses. You always want to reward down low, encourage them to have their head down to the ground anytime that you are doing any kind of rewarding with them. So I'm going back to combing out her tail, which sometimes can be a big job for horses and then after winter and if you haven't been combing them a lot. So again, she's in my safety circle with her head high, so I'm not interacting with her in any way except for to maybe do something a little silly. I bent down, she put her head down, and so I rewarded her for that. And now I'm going to go back to something else. So clearly this horse still wants to interact with me. Look at her follow me to the camera. So again, she could run off. She could go be with her buddies. I'm rewarding her for just being kind to me. And I appreciate the fact that she's demonstrating that she would like to spend some time with me, do some tricks, get the opportunity to earn some rewards. But I'm not feeding her all the time. I'm only doing it sporadically. And only if she's giving me the behavior exactly the way I'm looking for it. So I'm trying to get her to reach her nose between her front legs. She's not too interested in that, but she put her head down. I also have a syringe here. Good. Syringe full of water. She did great there. She came down and touched it. And so I rewarded her. That's a pretty big deal. We're working on that with all the horses here right now to get them accustomed to having a syringe just with water in it for right now. You could use a little molasses or pancake syrup or something like that to make it more pleasant for them. But I do want them to all get accustomed to having a syringe around their mouth so that when we do medicate them, it's not nearly as stressful. So that's something that you want to always be practicing with your horse. So I'm playing a little game with her now, seeing if she'll follow me around. She's looking off the other direction. She's thinking about whether or not she really wants to still stay with me. Oh, and she's smelling now the syringe. And so that's what we want. And I reward her again down low. So that's really wonderful that she is spending all that time with me. So I decided that's enough for now. That was a lot of training time with me and her. Again, this was speeded up. So I go off so that we can let some of the other horses out of the corral and be out in the 10 acres with us and see how that goes next. Again, I call this sort of the pre-flight check. These are little exercises that I encourage you to do with your horse with them loose every time before you ride them so that you have an idea what your bond and your relationship is with the horse on this day. You want your horse to come to you. You want your horse to stay with you. If your horse is not coming to you and your horse is not staying by you, then you are not being something that they really want to be close to. So make yourself something that they really want to be close to. Make it really fun. Don't harass them if they don't do the things exactly the way you want it done. Let them have a choice. That's what this is all about. So now we have more animals in the scene, and then that's going to change what this looks like. So we have the first horse again, who's coming right around to me because I've been working with her for the last 15 or 20 minutes. And so she's, wow, I know what this is all about, and I'm excited to just have fun. So I just go stand in my spot and wait. She runs off with her friend, and that's fine. But then she decides, oh, wait, Mom's pretty cool to be around, so I'm going to come back and see what she has to say. And because this big field is fun to run around in and all, but still, at the end of the day, it's just a big field, and this is way more fun. I'm learning, I'm getting the opportunity to have some rewards, I'm getting some grooming, some scratching. It's very stimulating for them to be interacted with in this way. And so I go back to training with her a little bit. We're doing a little hoof lift. She's a little reluctant to give me that back foot, as you can see, and that's no problem whatsoever. Keep in mind there are other horses out here, so it does change the dynamic. It makes it all a little bit more stressful for her. And so we'll see what happens if she continues to stay hanging out with me and do more training, or if she wants to run off and meet with her friends and she wants to stay with me. So I really appreciate that, and I want to thank her for that by continuing to give her attention, give her the chance to do good. She's throwing her head up right there because she's asking me if she can do the rear behavior. But teaching horses to rear is potentially extremely dangerous because you have to be able to control it. You do not want them rearing at the wrong time. So it's not something that I recommend that you work with unless you're very experienced with your horses. So I decided to go ahead and go back to the syringe with the water. So I'm giving her some scratches on her shoulder blade there. And she is definitely still paying attention and targeting on to the syringe. And so I'm going to reward her for that. And again, I'm rewarding her down low for touching the syringe that has the water in it. And what I'm going to do is continue to work on that until I can slip the end of the syringe into her mouth and then squirt some water into her mouth. And as you can see how slowly I'm doing it, how interested she is in being in my pocket, in my space, that's exactly the time that you want to train something like putting a dewormer in a horse's mouth, when they are coming towards you, not when they're pulling their head away. So now I went back to doing a little more hoof lift with the hind leg, but I noticed we have another horse that's decided that he wants to come in and join the game. So he knows how to target. Most of our horses here do know how to target. Again, it's a first step, very important that all horses know how to do that. I want you to watch while I interact with him, her behavior, because you'll notice that she's yawning. I'd like for you to put down in the comments below why you think she's yawning so much. I think this is a good topic of discussion among professionals here on why we think this horse is yawning when he came over and now he's getting the attention. Now he's a dominant horse, and so she's going to stay back just naturally. So keep in mind that a horse is going to be a horse first. That means that they are going to always have instincts to be with their friends, to be able to flee, to respect the hierarchy that they share with each other. That is going to be all way more important than any kind of training thing that you're doing with them. And so you should always take that into account and respect that when you're training with them. So that means I'm not going to chase him off and say, oh, you're a bad boy because you're not allowing me to train her. This is all a free choice environment, a low stress environment. And the best way that I can keep it low stress is to respect their hierarchy. And in this case, their hierarchy is the fact that he is dominant over her. And so he is going to expect me to do the training with him, which I'm doing in a very similar manner as what I was doing with her. So I'm going to pet her a little bit too, because she, in my opinion, feels like she's feeling a little bit left out. She was having fun, and then he came and stole her opportunity. So I'm going to work with him a little bit, also combing the mane. And notice again, these horses have 10 acres they can be running free on right now if they want to. And instead, they are choosing to spend their time with me. So notice he is putting his head down and getting a few snacks. His head is staying mostly a little bit more below the line. If you don't understand what I mean by that's definitely something that I teach in more detail in my horse training master class. So if you want to understand that, I would certainly encourage you to sign up for the horse training master class so that you can learn about timing, you can learn about rewarding, you can learn about how often to ask a horse for some of these behaviors, and also to help troubleshoot some of the reasons why they might not respond. So notice this other horse is still just standing by, because even though he's getting all the attention, she's hoping that I might at some point here give her a chance as well. For my own safety, I have to be careful. And that's something when you're working with more than one animal in a free choice manner like that, you do have to be careful, because I don't want to cause him to get upset with her and then inadvertently injure me. And that's why the principles of positive reinforcement are the safest, scientifically proven safest method of training, because you really minimize any chance of causing aggression, inadvertent aggression. So I go off now at this point to go let other horses out of the corral and onto the 10 acres so that they can join us. And it's just so cute and wonderful to me that both of them follow me off, because they don't want to miss a moment. And there in the background, you can see the others have all been let out of the corral now onto the 10 acres. And so everyone's going to run and play and roll and do all the things that they do. And I'm going to go back to my spot here by the camera and see if somebody wants to train with me. And so now we have this Palomino mare, Sugar, and she loves to train also. And so she's right here, like ready and eager. And she says, 10 acres, huh, I don't need that. Hang out with me. Let's do some things. Let's play. That's what I'm looking for in a partner right there. Nice and relaxed. I'm actually trying to get her to do some like turns on the forehand. Now I walk away at this point because other more dominant horses come in. Again, I'm going to right away acknowledge the more dominant horse. I do like Sugar, and I don't like for her to be run off by the bullies. But at the same time, you have to let a horse be a horse first and respect their hierarchy with each other. So when you're working in a group, you need to be extremely aware of their hierarchy, respect it, and most importantly, keep yourself safe. So notice I leave the scene a little bit because everybody's a little bit pushy and getting a little bit in my space and pushy with each other. So I just leave the scene for a few minutes because I want to diffuse the situation and let them just go run and play with each other. It's a little bit too dangerous at that point for me to spend time to continue to do the training. So again, you want to just change the frame. So now I'm back and a new horse has arrived. And this is Caesar, the little Mustang. And I'm going to do some hoof lift with him. And we'll see, he's trying, not really getting it, not too sure. So I just stop asking and move on to the next hind leg. And he doesn't do it there either, so no problem. So I go and get some other things to try to do with him. I need to comb him out. I need to groom him as well. Sugar has shown back up in the background. Donkey has showed up in the background. They would all like to be played with and groomed and have an opportunity to train as well. But again, you have to pay attention to the dominant one. And in this group of 3, he's the dominant one. So notice how I handle him being pushy. So this is where you have to sometimes do protected content. Sometimes it may not be appropriate to work with the horse out in the open like that. So what I'm doing is I'm using the syringe with the water. I'm going to use my brush here in a moment, comb him. I'm rubbing his ears. I'm rubbing his eyes. I'm doing all of these things. It looks hilarious, I know. They try to train him to tolerate being brushed and handled in this manner without being sensitive about it. If he can be pushing into my space like that, then it's safe for me to push back into his space and not damage my relationship with him. So that's what I'm doing there, is actually training at the right time. And look, I'm looking into his ear. He's shaking his head, but he's still really pushy. His head is high. He's really in my personal space. I'm not getting him out. So I try to brush him again, but as you see, it just becomes where I feel like it's just too much to work with him out in the open. And so I'm going to end the training session here soon and leave and work with him from behind a fence for the next session so that I am able to maintain my space. And that works a lot better than me yelling at him and pushing him, because I'll never get him away from me even if I try. So thanks so much for tuning in. And if you have questions, comments, please post them down below. And also, please subscribe. Thanks so much.
Okay, everyone, so now you got to see what it actually looks like, a training session here at the ResqRanch with a whole bunch of different animals all at one time. Again, you got to see here at the end, kind of had to cut the training session a little bit short because we had Caesar the wild Mustang that was getting a little bit too involved in my brushes and all those items that I had right underneath the camera. And so that's okay. You know, no problem at all. He's young, he's curious, and that's going to happen sometimes. So at least you got to see one way that I deal with pushy horses by brushing them and trying to deworm them and all those kinds of things that helps them sort of learn to stay back in their own safety circle. So hopefully you saw some things in this video that are going to be helpful and interesting to you. Definitely leave your comments down below and subscribe to the website so that you, or to the channel rather, so that you can tune in anytime we have new videos just like these. On that note, I'm Dr. Q, here to help you have the most amazing relationship with all of the animals in your life. Thanks for tuning in.